So I think that there are a lot of actions that it's possible to take in order to improve the possibility to have some research activities in a European country. For example, from a technological point of view, I think that it's very important to try to have a link between companies and academic institutions, for example. This kind of project, living labs, I think that are mutuated from several projects that are setting up in Europe. Living labs is a sort of model in which different actors are joined together in order to express some needs, for example. And then there are, for example, hospital or maybe civil citizens that try to need a service, and then some company that try to solve the solution, or maybe to try for the solutions. And in this case, I think that companies can advantages themselves with collaboration with the academic staffs. For example, the Polytechnic of Bari has a lot of startup companies or some spin-offs that are usual to collaborate with companies in this kind of fields. As I told you before, the possibility to have new companies very impressive in order to set up research is very important. Spin-off companies are very useful to do this. And in some researchers that are working in the Polytechnic or maybe in the university in the Apulian regions are very familiar with patents, for example. Patents are a sort of expressions of how the research activities can leave from the university classroom and then try to solve the problems of citizens, for example. I think that the actions that Apulian regions try to do are very useful to do this, because it's not so simple to link the needs of companies with the links of the citizens, and maybe to the propensions that academic staffs are in their DNA, for example. And I think that the funds are very useful in this case. And because researchers needs to have some fellowships, and researcher needs to have some instruments and maybe softwares and something like that. And I think that it's not possible to do research if you are alone. I think that the mechanism of funds is a good idea, as I told you before. The problem is that at the end of research activities, I think that it's necessary to monitor the successful of this project, because I think that not all the projects are able to produce results at the end of this time. And sometimes it's very important to try to collect the idea of the final destinations of this project. I think that in Living Labs model, this concept is very stressed, because, for example, in our Living Lab, we are trying to connect to patients affected by the pathologies that we are trying to solve in this project. In this moment, I represent the Polytechnic of Bari. Polytechnic of Bari is a very large institution in which we are different kinds of researches developed, for example, from informatics to automation to mechanical and management industries. But other researches are developed in the fields, for example, in civils on maybe in architecture. From the personal point of view, I am a lecturer of human-computer interaction, and then I'm very often involved in projects in which we are trying to work with physicians, maybe with biologists, and we are trying to investigate the possibility to design a new ambient-assisted living environments in which some residual capabilities of patients or maybe some chronic persons will be potentially used in order to try to have a life with very similar to the person that are not suffering from this kind of pathologies. We have investigated two different kinds of pathologies in this project. One is directly focused on a rare pathologies that is called chorea of Huntington. It's a very rare pathologies, and the other is strictly corrected to the mild cognitive impairment. The mild cognitive impairment is the phase in which maybe aging people trying to suffer and then are not longer able to have some relations with the familiar, or maybe are not longer able to do some very simple actions in their houses, for example. In this case, we are trying to design and then implemented and tested new solutions in order to improve the capability of using residual capabilities of these persons, and then trying to get some information from sensors, for example, from electromyographic sensor or maybe some brain-computer interface sensor, and then we are trying to correlate the capability to do an action with the sensor that we are trying to extract from these sensors. And to do this, it's very important to cooperate with some physicians, like neurology, for example. We are working on 3 different living labs. The first is called RESCAP. RESCAP means from residual capabilities, as I told you before. The other is IGHS, and is a project in which some rare pathologies are investigated, and we are trying to have an early diagnosis of this kind of pathologies. And the other is ESUAP. This is a sort of platform to try to deliver some service to the citizens. Because, as you know, there are some municipalities in our regions, and then they try to deliver some service to the citizens. But sometimes it's not so simple to deliver in a very simple way some services to the citizens, and we are trying to use some new service or maybe some new methodologies of design software to implement a new platform. Of course, I represent the university in this case, and then I think that the university is a very important point in this scenario. But the university needs to share their knowledge with the actual cases, mutuated from the real life of the persons. because it's not so simple to try to merge the capability of researchers in solutions for the people.